Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone. Good evening, everyone. I want to start with a confession. I am a thinker, a chronic overanalyzer, a pro and con list making champion. And for a long time, I thought thinking was the way to solve everything. If I just planned enough, processed enough, worried enough, then I could control the outcome. I could avoid failure, dodge disappointment, and sidestep vulnerability. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. Because here's the truth. Life is not something to be figured out, it's something to be lived. And the more we stay in our heads, the more we miss what's right in front of us. So today, I want to share I want you to think about a time when you were stuck in your own head, going back and forth over a decision, trying to predict every possible outcome. You analyze it from every angle, replay every scenario, maybe even lose sleep over it. And then what happens? Most of the time, you're still in the same place, stuck, paralyzed by the weight of indecision. Here's the thing. We tell ourselves that if we just think long enough, plan hard enough, or gather enough information, we'll finally feel ready to take action. We wait for the moment when all the doubt disappears, when certainty magically arrives, and we can move forward with confidence. But that moment, it rarely ever comes. Because clarity isn't something you get from thinking, it's something you get from doing. Real confidence, the kind that allows us to trust ourselves, doesn't come from sitting on the sidelines, trying to work out every detail in advance. It comes from stepping into the unknown, from trying, from experimenting, from seeing what works and what doesn't. We don't gain clarity by waiting for perfect conditions. We gain clarity by taking imperfect action and learning as we go. Think about learning to ride a bike. No amount of reading about balance or watching YouTube tutorials will prepare you for the moment you actually get on the bike. You're going to wobble. You're going to feel uncertain. You might even fall. But after a few tries, your body starts to adjust. You learn what works, what doesn't. You stop overthinking and start feeling your way through it. That's how clarity works. You take a step, see what happens, adjust, and keep going. And let's be honest, overthinking is often just fear in disguise. We tell ourselves we're being responsible, weighing all our options, making sure we don't make a mistake. But really, we're avoiding the discomfort of vulnerability. Because taking action means risking failure, and failure is scary. But you know what's even scarier? Looking back and realizing you spent more time thinking about your life than actually living it. So the next time you find yourself stuck in analysis paralysis, ask yourself one simple question. What's one small action I can take right now? Not the perfect action, not the guaranteed to-work action, just something to get you out of your head and into the world. Because the truth is, you don't need more time to think. You need more courage to act. And once you do, clarity will meet you on the other side. Fear is one of the most powerful forces in our lives. It whispers in our ears, planting doubts before we even take the first step. It convinces us that failure is inevitable, that rejection is unbearable, that we're not strong enough, smart enough, or worthy enough to chase what we truly want. And the tricky part, fear sounds reasonable. It disguises itself as caution, as logic, as a voice of protection. It tells us that if we just stay where we are, if we don't rock the boat, if we don't put ourselves out there, we can avoid pain, embarrassment, and disappointment. But here's what I've learned. Fear is just a story. It's a narrative we tell ourselves, one we've probably been carrying for years. Maybe it started when we were kids and we failed at something and someone's words, maybe even our own, made us believe we weren't good enough. Maybe it's a story we picked up from society, from the idea that only certain people get to take risks. Only certain people get to dream big. Over time, these stories get woven so tightly into our identity that we mistake them for truth. But the reality is, fear is rarely based on truth. It's based on what ifs. What if I try and I fail? What if people judge me? What if I put myself out there and I'm not enough? Let's flip that script for a second. What if you try and you succeed? What if people love what you have to offer? What if you are already enough just as you are? When we let fear drive, we live our lives on pause. We let amazing opportunities pass us by. We settle for less than we deserve because at least it's safe. But safe doesn't mean fulfilled. Safe doesn't mean alive. Safe just means stuck. Think about the moments in your life that truly shaped you, the ones that made you feel most alive. I guarantee you, those moments didn't happen when you played it safe. They happened when you took a chance, when you raised your hand, when you walked into the room even though you were nervous, when you said yes to something before you felt ready. That's the thing about fear. It only has power if we listen to it. The moment we decide to take action despite it, the moment we stop letting it dictate our choices, something incredible happens. Fear shrinks. It loses its grip. We start to realize that we are so much stronger than the stories we've been telling ourselves. So the next time fear shows up, and it will, pause for a second, acknowledge it, thank it for trying to protect you, and then ask yourself, is this fear telling me the truth, or is it just telling me a story? If it's just a story, rewrite it. Step into it anyway. Because fear might always be in the car with you, but it doesn't get to take the wheel. You do. Perfection is one of the most seductive lies we tell ourselves. It whispers that if we just wait a little longer, plan a little better, or work a little harder, we can get everything just right. It convinces us that we can avoid mistakes, avoid embarrassment, avoid the sting of failure. If only we could be perfect. But here's the truth, perfection doesn't exist. It's an illusion, a moving target that keeps shifting just out of reach. No matter how much we tweak, refine, or prepare, there will always be something we could have done better. And in the meantime, while we're chasing this impossible standard, life is passing us by. We think perfectionism is about high standards, about excellence, but it's not. It's about fear. It's about the deep, gnawing fear that if we're not perfect, we're not worthy. That if we fail, it means we are failures. That if we put something out into the world that isn't flawless, we'll be judged, criticized, or rejected. So we wait, we procrastinate, we convince ourselves that we're just not ready yet. We tell ourselves that we'll start the business once we have more experience. We'll share our art when it's completely polished. We'll take the leap when we feel 100% sure. And while we're waiting for perfect conditions, we're not moving forward at all. But here's something I want you to think about. Progress is always better than perfection. A first draft, no matter how messy, is better than a blank page. A small step, no matter how uncertain, is better than standing still. The most successful, creative, and fulfilled people in the world are not the ones who got everything perfect from the start. They're the ones who started imperfectly and kept going. Think about the first time you did anything new. The first time you drove a car. It wasn't perfect. The first time you cooked a meal, it probably wasn't restaurant quest. The first time you had a tough conversation, it might have been awkward. But you didn't stop just because you weren't perfect. You learned, you adjusted, you got better. That's how growth happens. So if you've been waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect skill set, the perfect conditions. Let me save you some time. It's not coming. What is coming is the chance to take action now, to do it messy, to do it scared, to do it imperfectly, and to trust that the process will shape you. Because at the end of your life, you won't look back and be proud of the things you thought about doing. You'll be proud of the things you actually did. And none of them will be perfect, but they'll be real and they'll be yours. Overthinking feels productive, doesn't it? It makes us believe that if we just think a little harder, analyze a little longer, or gather just a bit more information, we'll eventually land on the perfect answer. We tell ourselves that overthinking is a sign of responsibility, that it helps us make better choices and avoid mistakes. But if we're being really honest, overthinking is often just a sophisticated way of avoiding action. We stay stuck in our heads because taking action feels risky. If we overthink long enough, maybe we won't have to actually do the hard thing. We won't have to apply for the job and risk rejection. We won't have to start the conversation and risk vulnerability. We won't have to put ourselves out there and risk failure. Overthinking keeps us in our comfort zone, but at what cost? The truth is, overthinking doesn't prevent bad outcomes. It just delays any outcome. While we sit there, trapped in a cycle of analysis paralysis, life moves on without us. Opportunities come and go. Moments that could have been meaningful slip through our fingers. And what do we have to show for it? A head full of what ifs and a heart full of regrets. And here's the irony. Overthinking doesn't actually lead to better decisions. In fact, the more we overanalyze, the more we confuse ourselves. We start second-guessing everything, doubting our instincts, and creating problems that didn't even exist in the first place. We drown in a sea of endless scenarios, none of which are actually happening. So what's the way out? It's simpler than we think. We must take action before we feel ready. Instead of spending hours debating which decision is the right one, we have to remind ourselves that action creates clarity, that we can course correct along the way, that mistakes aren't the end of the world, they're proof that we're in the world, actually living. If you find yourself overthinking, ask yourself, am I thinking or am I avoiding? Am I planning or am I stalling? Because more often than not, what we need isn't another hour of thinking. What we need is 5 seconds of courage to just begin. We don't get to the end of our lives and feel proud of how much we overthought. We feel proud of what we did. So let's stop overthinking. Let's start doing. Joy is one of those things we all want more of, but somehow it always seems just out of reach. We tell ourselves that we'll be happy when we get the promotion, when we find the right relationship, when we have more money, when we feel more confident. We postpone our joy, treating it like some future reward will unlock once we have everything figured out. And while we're waiting, we live in a constant state of what ifs. What if things go wrong? What if I fail? What if I make the wrong choice? What if I'm not enough? Our minds love to drag us into the past, replaying old mistakes, or launch us into the future, worrying about things that haven't even happened yet. We become so consumed with analyzing, fixing, and predicting that we miss what's right in front of us. And the heartbreaking part, those small, beautiful moments, the ones that actually make life worth living, are happening now. Joy doesn't wait for you to have the perfect life. It doesn't require you to have all the answers. It doesn't demand that you eliminate every problem or erase every uncertainty. Joy is available in this moment, but we have to choose to see it. Think about a time when you were truly happy. I'm willing to bet it wasn't because everything in your life was perfect. It was probably something simple, a deep belly laugh with a friend, the feeling of sunshine on your skin, a song that made you want to dance, a quiet moment when you felt at peace. Those moments weren't planned. They weren't part of some master strategy to create happiness. They just happened because you were present enough to experience them. But when we live in our heads, consumed by what ifs, we rob ourselves of those moments. Instead of enjoying the meal in front of us, we stress about calories or tomorrow's to-do list. Instead of soaking in a conversation with a loved one, we mentally replay something awkward we said last week. Instead of fully embracing an opportunity, we worry about all the ways it could go wrong. And the result? We miss now. Joy isn't a destination, it's an invitation. It's not something we find after we solve all our problems. It's something we choose in the middle of them. And choosing joy doesn't mean ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It means making the conscious decision to focus on what's good, what's beautiful, and what's real, right? So if you've been waiting for the perfect moment to feel happy, stop waiting. This is it. This messy, imperfect, unpredictable now is your life. And joy is not something you have to earn. It's something you get to claim. So here's my challenge to you. Stop thinking, start living. Take the risk, make the call, say yes to something that scares you. Because life isn't waiting for you to have it all figured out. It's happening right now. And you deserve to be in it. Thank you.